Our next guest is a very special guest. She's fierce, self-made, a polyglot, an actor, a politician returning to screen after 17 years. And before we honor Karan, which I'm going to ask her to do the honors, can we please put our hands together for Smriti Irani? Let's show her some love. Let's show her some love. Before I hand over to Karan, I'm just going to request Ms. Irani to present Karan Johar with the Changemaker of 2025 award. Let's give it up. Okay, guys, I didn't think that was loud enough, so bigger applause. And now I will hand it over.
Now I'm going to go and take your seat.
You're taking my seat? Yes.
Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Karan, let me take that for you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, the tables have turned, and I am so humbled that they have. I have to say, ma'am, I've done this before.
And I have to say, this is the first time he has ma'amed me ever.
No. You know that's not true. I have always ma'amed you. I don't know why that sounds wrong on various levels, but I have always ma'amed you. You know that. It comes from a place of reverence, respect, and also to tell you that I'm very deeply privileged to have the honor of interviewing you today. I've done it several years ago at the World Economic Forum that was in India, in Bombay, in Delhi, sorry, in New Delhi, and now many, many years later. And so much has changed, and yet so much has remained the same.
Indeed, I think as Ekta Kapoor has quintessentially said, रिश्तों के भी रूप बदलते हैं.
Yes. And it's strange because, not strange at all, but Kyunki Saas bhi kabhi Bahu thi, which I know is such a defining part of your life, your career, and it is in many ways representative of you wherever in the world you go, is making a comeback.
Is it?
Or so the buzz
Have I made any official announcement?
Can I officially announce it?
I don't know. You have to dial up your friend Ekta Kapoor.
I'm not allowed to. All right, let's just say market buzz is, market buzz says that this iconic show that single-handedly changed the face of Indian television is coming back in a new roop, in a new avatar, and with a new ideology, but with the same soul and tradition. And if it were to happen, so let's talk about it hypothetically, how would that make you feel?
Well, I think that since I'm sitting in front of one of the industrial giants of India, I must say that look at television today from a different perspective.
Yeah.
When we did television 25 years ago, we have to be cognizant of the fact it was never sold as an economic pursuit or a revenue-generating opportunity. Today, it employs between TV and OTT 2 million Indians.
Wow.
Television last year had a revenue of 30,000 crores. And OTT had a revenue of 24,000 crores. So it is not only the economic value, but more so, I think it's the cultural value. It is the emotive value that comes to screen, which is of, I think, a cause of celebration. I know there are many in the audience, in fact, one youngster here who has possibly kept photographs from when he was 11 years old, is today a podcaster.
Wow.
And he has been incessant in his pursuit of what those lines or what those stories mean. Yeah. So I think many a times we create stories without knowing the multi-generational impact of it. And Kyunki is one such story.
And it actually, in many ways, impacted the social fabric of our, of just the way life is and continues to be in an average home of our great nation.
Our big highlight was when in one of the movies, which was directed by you, Kajol walks up and says, "Arey, Mihir mar gaya."
Yeah.
And everybody on set said, "Did you see Kajol did this in a Karan Johar movie?"
Yeah, it was in Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham.
I believe so.
And I remember it was at that time, it was a part of our existence. I remember walking in and my mother just riveted. And not only that, it was like dad who was also riveted. And it was both of them. And then I used to sit and watch it. And at that time, it was, I have to say this, ma'am, and I say this with only love and admiration, but it wasn't the coolest thing to say that, you know, you're riveted by watching Indian television at that time.
I think movies were not cool from India. Songs were not cool. And
Nothing
neither
was cool. Nothing was cool.
Television series. Why
Nothing
only
was cool.
single out Ekta Kapoor? But I think that
But I remember being riveted, and I remember it actually used to annoy me that Ekta and yourself had to be on so many platforms, always justifying, the
I never
tradition.
justified anything.
Ekta was always asked that question.
That was her onus. I was only happy celebrating the paycheck.
No, but like Ekta had to go on and say that, that this is not regressive, that this is something that is value-based and has a certain deep-rooted culture. And brings me to my next question. Today, in this hyper-woke era, if, again, hypothetically, because we're not allowed to officially speak about it, and I'm most excited if this is the truth, because
I love the
do believe,
shadowboxing, yes.
I do believe that it will again change the face of like streaming and television today. Today, do you think that Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi needs a new syntax, or you think that it needs to remain and retain its inherent tradition?
We created the tradition of Saas Bahu.
Yeah.
We created the template for emotive family drama. She was the first one off the block.
Yeah.
And when we started, we were given this godforsaken time slot at 10:30 in the night where India went to sleep.
Yeah.
And I think it was to the credit of Ekta Kapoor and her team that took an absolutely dead slot. And we were the tailwinds of Amitabh Bachchan in KBC.
Yes.
So the program was never positioned to succeed. It was always positioned as though it is a polite rejection.
Yeah.
And the fact that 25 years ago, the topics that came up in the show were marital rape, adult literacy, ragging on campuses,
Yes.
the right of a woman to choose to be in a marriage where the husband cheats on her or not, or walk away. These topics 25 years ago, and especially marital rape, were not topics that were widely spoken of, let alone be debated through a so-called fancy family drama.
Yeah.
So I think that she pushed the envelope even then,
Yes.
but she was not very verbose about what she was doing. Today, in the so-called woke generation that you speak of, there is a huge conversation around pay parity.
Yes.
That is a time where we broke that so-called glass ceiling, where the female protagonist unabashedly said that I am paid more than the male actor.
Yes.
And we set that template even in terms of parity. Yes. So if presumably this is to happen again, I'm sure given Ekta's inclination of pushing the envelope, she will do that again.
Well, Ekta is a game changer, a trendsetter, and I've always said this, a bona fide genius. Literally, that mind and how it ticks is something that I have deep amount of regard for. And when it comes to Indian television, like you say, speak about pay parity, women have always ruled. You began that. Like you being paid higher than the male protagonist.
I wasn't paid more than the male protagonist when I signed the contract.
It happened.
I had
because you created the legacy of that show.
I created that space, but I created that space in collaboration with the creator of the show.
Yes.
And I still remember that when we did that particular contract, that engagement, Ekta was very focused on the history we are about to create.
Right.
And everybody else was bothered about the paycheck. So she's always been focused about what is the new threshold that she can cross, or what is the new template that she can establish, or what new standards she can set. But I think that if you look at the Kyunki journey in totality, the most, I think, well-kept secret about Kyunki is that I had a contract to do it again in 2014. And I walked away from it because I had to serve in the Indian Parliament as cabinet minister.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there were two projects that I'd walked away from. One was a movie that I was doing with the late Rishi Kapoor.
Yes.
And the other was Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, where the set was ready. But there was a phone call from the Prime Minister's office that you have to take oath.
Yeah.
So I walked away from both of them. And with both Rishi Kapoor telling me, leave now. Because to serve your country is a greater service than just doing a movie.
Yes, absolutely.
Or to do a television series.
Something that I'm actually very intrigued to know is, what is tougher, the role of an actor or the role of a politician that you've played in life? What has been more challenging for you?
Well, since we are on the We the Women platform, just to be a woman is tough enough.
Well,
I had said this on one platform, that when you're a woman, you're expected to look like a girl, work like a horse, and if you do kick around a bit, then you're supposedly very difficult no matter what your age.
yeah.
So I think it doesn't matter whether you're an actor or a politician, period. If you're a woman, it is not essential that life becomes easy when you succeed. In fact, when you succeed, it gets a bit more difficult because then the backlash comes very finely dressed.
And so when you speak of
The
backlash,
tongue lashing is very perfumed.
yes. When you speak of backlash, and of course, being, as you said, being a woman has been challenging, whether you're an actor or a politician.
It's challenging for others, not for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure with your personality, I'm
Yes.
sure you have taken those challenges head on. But do you feel sometimes you've been at the receiving end of mansplaining, of like people kind of excessively trying to explain a circumstance or situation to you?
No, I think that it becomes difficult when you tell people and people presume that you will conform a lot.
Yeah.
That presumption comes when you succeed and you want to maintain success, and conformity becomes very essential because nobody wants you to rock the boat. And when you say that actually I was not born to conform, I was born to lead, that becomes very stark for people to accept. So I've never been a conformist. And when I'm very, very effusive about how I know exactly what I'm doing, that tends to trample a few egos.
Right, because predominantly, whether it's the movie industry, the television industry, prior to, of course, Kyunki Saas, or the political arena, largely has been male-dominated for decades, you know. But then women have always come and paved the way, just like you did. What was the one thing that you felt was most challenging being a woman, even in the political arena?
I think once they see you coming, once they know what you're made of, then it becomes difficult.
Right.
Till then, they presume and they give you that grace that maybe you're not as bright. And especially if you come from a media background, they presume that, oh, you must have been quite an idiot to have chosen the acting path.
Yeah.
So they don't see you coming, and it's easier when they don't see you coming. Once they've seen you coming and they know the hammer that you are, then every nail on the face of the planet runs before you strike them on the head. So,
well, many nails have been struck by you on many heads, and we've seen that happen even at the electorate. But it brings me to that.
really, I'm a very nice, quintessential Bahu.
Yes. Uh, so it's something that I've been asked a lot, is my reaction and my dealing with success and failure. While there have been like huge victorious moments, you've had sweeping election results, there have also been those, like I know I've had films fail and down times, there have been those in your career as well. How have you managed to circumvent those times and deal
Well,
with those
every time I've been rejected, that becomes a step to new success.
times? Right.
So even when I did Kyunki, I remember the first day when I went to work, the watchman threw me out of Ekta's building.
Yes.
Because he said, you don't look like an actor. If I'd taken offense to his disposition, possibly I wouldn't be in that ecosystem to work with, to begin with. And I think that people presume that success is going from one celebration to another. They do not realize that success actually is consistently going from one failure to another. To not allow those times where you feel that you're beaten to keep you down. It is every time you get back up. And many in my own family have asked me that, what do you think will be that moment in time when you say, okay, fine, now I'm done.
Yeah.
I've done enough. I said, the day I die. And the day I die, everybody who's competed with me ever will say, thank God she's dead because we couldn't keep her down. So I think that if you live your life without, and legacies are never made with one success.
Yes.
Legacies are always, and legends are always made when you're consistent over a period of time.
Yeah, and resilient.
And not many recognize that with the advent of multimedia and technology, to stay relevant over 2.5 decades, to not only be resilient, but to be culturally, societally be accepted across generations, it's not an easy task.
Not at all.
And media and politics are two of the toughest arenas, let alone for women, but even men. And to be a cabinet minister, I'm not even 50 yet, but to be a cabinet minister, a 3-time MP, handling 5 different portfolios, and to be an actor in the #1 show over 8 years, now that is something which is nothing short of a blessing.
Absolutely. And you deserve all the applause in the world for that. And, ma'am, You've specifically, there is a brand that you created for yourself, and that never happens strategically, or it always just happens on its own. Like when people told you, like, have you created this kind of brand equity for yourself? And I always say that it is something that happens as that is part of your personality, your achievement, your ability to be resilient and to constantly conform with the times, adapt to our circumstance. And also in your profession, as an actor, as an artist in the media, there have always been like people where you're always on a hot seat, where you're always asked, you're questioned, there are complaints or there are questions or there is criticism. It's never an easy place. So for you to manage to kind of always go through those hurdles and obstacles is a daunting task and a daunting reality, but you've always done it with so much elegance, articulation, as well as grace. And how have you always maintained your like sanity through it all?
And that's because I've been dirt poor. So everything that happens post that is nothing but a plus in life.
Yeah.
Now, when I began my career, and the lady, and I think Mr. Agarwal knows, Ritu is a part of his entire industrial ecosystem. Ritu was a intern with my father 32 years ago.
Oh, wow.
The lady who has helped build this ecosystem under the tutelage of Mr. Agarwal. And I was a 17-year-old kid who had just 200 bucks in my pocket. So when you come from 200 bucks in your pocket, and when your first job is selling cosmetics on the streets of Delhi, it is overwhelming, I think, part of your life when in that same New Delhi, you also go and stand next to the President of India and you realize that you've come from the streets and you will go back to the streets. The issue is, do you have the tenacity then to go back and then spring right back up?
And start again.
So if you've seen abject poverty, and I tell everybody, if you have not seen that, maybe you don't know how much that we can push back, because there's nothing which fires you up than a hungry stomach.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
if you've done that, if you have people like that in your life, you're genuinely blessed, because the resilience from there is a resilience that nobody can teach you.
Is this deeply rooted in your childhood years?
Yes, because I was too poor to seek validation. And by the time I became somebody, I didn't need anybody's validation. I mean, you've been a witness to my journey as a professional in the media business. You have never seen me on any get-togethers, parties, which includes Ektas, because for me as a professional, it was very important that I get measured on my outcome or my output as a media professional. I know that friendships are very rare. I know friendships are at times very, very cosmetic. And I did not have the wherewithal of time, because I understand how great it is to just have that opportunity.
Right.
So I wanted to live from one opportunity to another. I did not want to live from one cosmetic relationship to another. So I never had the time, never sought validation, so life is easy. So when I never sought validation from my own colleagues, from my own professional ecosystem, there was no need for me to seek validation from anybody else. Nowadays, they're elegantly called trolls.
Yes.
I'd never had the need to seek anybody's validation. But there is also a huge sense of responsibility and gratitude towards people who have made you what you are by sheer support. There are people I've never met in my life. I met one legend who was downstairs, who met me at the elevator, Sudha Murthy. She said, I need to come back up. And is she here? I don't know. Yeah, so Sudha ji said, I need to come back up. And she said, I need to come back up and hear you, Smriti. Now, I've barely met Sudha ji like 4 times in my life, that too socially. But to have that grace shown to you, Barkha covered me in my first ever election. I don't know where she is right now. And she saw this tenacious, I fought my first election when I was 27 years old.
Yeah.
And for her to witness my journey.
Yeah.
So I think that you have a sense of gratitude, overwhelmed. This kid here in the second row is a podcaster. He showed me a photograph with him when he was a kid.
But
And
how amazing is that,
so
ma'am?
those are the stories, those are the people that I genuinely value.
Yeah.
Because they're there even the lights when the lights are dim.
And what does Smriti Irani stand for today?
Me. I don't know why I need to stand for a cause. I am a sword that you unleash when you think you're most troubled.
Wow. I think that there is literally not, I think there is not a line that, and I know it comes from within, but I think that you are a walking, talking clickbait headline. Like everything that you say is not only inspirational, motivational, but it's so darn clever. Always. And you're so smart and so eloquent. And I've always said there are
That's
very
exactly
few
what my
people-
husband tells me. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, where he should be very privileged to be your husband, because to have
I think
somebody to
we don't
articulate your
realize-
thoughts and
I-
emotions the way
I-
you do, it's an art form.
I don't think people realize the people they see as celebrities and public figures have families who help them get where they are at.
Yes.
Maybe not family, but people who love them, who will support them unabashedly, irrespective of their flaws. So I think that the credit is and the applause is as much theirs, and the failure is only mine.
Yeah. That's how we have to look at it. Is there somebody that Smriti Irani idolizes?
I know men and women are made of clay. I've lived enough
Yeah.
to know that human beings ultimately disappoint when you love, when you adore.
Yes.
So instead of having somebody that I idolize, I realize that what you miss the most is a parent when you lose them.
Yeah.
So instead of idolizing the world, care for people who mean a lot to you. So every time I leave home, every time I get on a flight, it is the parent that I will message. They seem cantankerous when you're young, but you, trust me, will miss them when they're gone.
And
So I want to celebrate when they're there.
And I also believe that when you lose a parent, you gain a God. Because that's what happened with me when I lost mine, that I feel like that was the face that I prayed to. I felt I gained a God. You know, it's not that I have anything against, anyone's religious practice, prayer, or belief, but very strongly I believe your parent, when you lose them, you also gain that God, who becomes
there
the
is
guiding light.
a definite part of your journey where you will lose your child, not because they will leave planet Earth, but because they will leave to build their own families.
Yes, yes,
That hurt will be distinct.
yes.
There is a time when you will lose a parent and you'll never hear their voice again. There is a time where you will meet friends and you'll never shake that hand again. So while they're there, just celebrate them. Be grateful for them.
In many ways, ma'am, I mean, not that I mean to departmentalize or compartmentalize our lives, but in many ways, you are in the 2.0 version of your life. It's the way we look at it. Our lives, I believe, professionally and personally get divided into two halves. One, when you've achieved everything as a mother, as a wife, as a professional, and then you go into your self-reflective mode, which is your 2.0 version. Are you in that 2.0 version?
No, because you can never achieve perfection as a mother, as a wife. You're fundamentally flawed because you're human.
Yeah,
So if you were perfect, you'd be God.
yeah, yeah. It's not just perfection. It's also like, is there a zone now that you feel you're in that is different from when you began?
Yes.
And what do you think has changed?
The fact that I have financial security.
Right.
It may not seem much for people who are gathered here today, but it means a lot from people who can't afford 2 square meals a day. So I tell youngsters who come from affluent families that you will never know the abject panic when you don't know whether you'll get next month's salary or not.
Absolutely.
So I think I am now at least released from that panic. But I also believe when you talk about the new version of me, I have zero expectations now. So if you ask me, what do I want for myself 2 years, 1 year, 10 years down the line? Nothing. And I think that takes a lot of people aback. Because people presume that life's journey is nothing but an ambition. An ambition maybe for a new office tag, a new car, a house. But can you imagine when you're so satiated in life that you want nothing?
Before I wrap this, and I know...
Sounds like a
Barkha's-
very
before I
philosophical
wrap this,
conversation,
no,
not a very Karan
absolutely.
Johar type of conversation. My apologies.
Everything that you have said has been profound, philosophical, but so true. And before Barkha is going to come on stage and, of course, engage with the audience, but before she does that, I have to end with my quintessentially asked rapid-fire round.
Bhagwan.
It will not be controversial. Lord knows.
No, I've gone through your rapid fire
Yes, but
once
Lord,
on
Lord
the
knows
couch
things
in
are different, ma'am.
Coffee
Today,
with Karan.
we are not in the era that we were then. We were saying a lot of things that we shouldn't be saying today.
I didn't do that, he did.
Yes, there is something called digging a hole and jumping into it, and I've done that many times. I refuse to be in that situation.
don't worry, I'm
not for
somebody
you,
who'll
but for
pull-
myself.
I
I
know.
worry for myself. So I'm going to make the most PG-13 rapid fire with you. But it's questions that I know that I'm sure you will answer very easily. If your life were a song, a Bollywood Hindi film song, what would that song be?
Well, the score would move from a Kuch Kuch Hota Hai to an Agnipath. That's all I know.
Oh, like starts with deep romance going into revenge. What are you avenging?
I am avenging possibly every kid who never had an opportunity.
Well said. Well
Who
said.
never had an opportunity to equally compete. And avenge is too strong a word.
Yeah.
But I think
But fight
Agnipath,
for.
the original version,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I'm a fan of
Yes.
the original one. It was about a son trying to fulfill a desire for a mother.
Yes.
The gore, the glory, I think the basic human emotion in it was a son who felt a mother has been met with injustice. And I always felt that for my own parents, for my own mother, because she was made to leave home when I was 7,
Right.
because she could not have a son.
Right. Oh dear.
So for me, that was Agnipath,
Yeah.
to get my mother back and give her a roof over her head. So the Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, possibly, but yeah.
But the reality is more Agnipath. What makes Smriti Irani cry?
Nothing.
Well done.
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
All right.
I dread the day where I will lose a parent. Possibly that is the only time I will break down and howl. But nothing before that.
And what makes you laugh?
Nothing.
Nothing makes you laugh and
It is
cry. It's
very
not Kabhi
dangerous
Khushi
when
Kabhi
you see
Gham.
me laughing. There is something which has gone so awry that I am laughing my head off. So, what makes me laugh? Possibly in a hypothetical world, there is possibly an actor called Bharti Achrekar.
Yes.
Maybe she'll make me laugh in
Yes.
a hypothetical situation that you have projected.
Fantastic actor. Who are the people you would associate with the following words? Motor mouth.
फिर से बोलना?
Motor mouth.
फिर से बोलना?
Cinematic legend.
Yash Chopra.
Absolutely.
The Yash Chopra got you or the motor mouth got you?
My next thought got me.
Okay.
Where I was trying to again ask something and I stopped myself. And I was like, this is going online. All right, a person, when I say need of the nation, if it were a person.
Well, the nation has the man it needs in the position that he should be serving at.
All right. And lastly, if there was a person that embodied hope, who would that person be?
Many. We are blessed to be a part of a country where there are many stories of change and hope. I have been extremely privileged to work with men and women who are the harbinger of that hope. The first CDS of our country, General Bipin Rawat, I had the privilege of
Yes.
calling him a senior colleague.
Yes.
The current NSA, Ajit
I had the
Doval.
pleasure of meeting him before he...
Yes, Ajit Doval.
Yes.
He's a legend at work. I've had the pleasure of working with him. So I've worked with men and women in uniform. And I think that those are the legends, many unspoken, many unwritten, but they have the gratitude of the entire nation. We owe them a debt.
Ladies and gentlemen, Smriti Irani, absolutely a powerhouse, a force of nature, a substantial woman, has broken every glass ceiling and is now about to break the ratings if what I hear is true.
Hypothetically,
Hypothetically speaking, we're not allowed to officially say it, but I think I let some cat out of this bag. But I have to thank Barkha for that. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for always being such a pleasure to be in conversation with. Thank you. Barkha, the stage is all yours.
Wasn't that an incredible conversation? It really, really, really was incredible. And just before both of you go, I would like to invite on stage somebody we would like and to request her to honor Miss Irani. She's such an achiever in her own right. Where did we lose? To my left, Sudha Murthy. The amazing legend herself, Sudha Murthy, a philanthropist, a storyteller, and now a parliamentarian. And she's going to be our next speaker, but I thought that in this sort of, where else would you get a stage where you had Karan Johar, Smriti Irani, and Sudha Murthy together? I think we just need to get Karan into politics as well, and then everything would be perfect. And ma'am, may I request you to do the honors and present Miss Irani with our Changemaker Award. Can we have a big, big, big round of applause? Louder, louder. Would you like to say something? I know your session is next, but about women in public space? About Smriti ji.
Of course,
Yes.
she's the woman with courage. She's a great fighter and fantastic actress. I want to tell one thing about Karan. Though you were asking rapid fire, I was thinking, which is the most memorable song in Bollywood? Suraj hua madhyam chand dalne. It's a fantastic bowl. Very beautiful bowl.
Thank you, ma'am. That means the world to me. Thank you so much. I'm sure Shah Rukh Khan will also be very happy to see that.
And of course, Kajol will be happy.
Yes, of course.
Well, we are going to take a 10 to 15-minute break, and Sudha Murthy, the amazing Sudha Murthy, is the next speaker. Before we let them off stage, a wonderful, loud round of applause for all our wonderful speakers.